One of the first things we did was to talk about purpose and values, sort of get those life put back into those important things, because if you don't have anything you can anchor your team to, then you sort of get lost and wobbly out there. So that was one of the first things we did.
This is Entrepreneurs the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. David Meltzer, CEO of Sports One Marketing, here with Entrepreneur the Playbook, and I am with one of my new mentors, but he doesn't know it, CEO of Denny's Franchise of America. Is that right? Close enough. You can correct me.
Yeah,
John
sure.
Miller.
Yeah, thank
John
you.
Miller, thanks for coming on the Playbook.
Yeah, we like to say Denny's America's Diner, always open.
Always open, feeding America.
That's right.
Both charitable feeding and, of course, for our regulars like me. And we were blessed to have Magic Johnson be a part of Denny's now, and you're supporting his charity, and his brand is supporting you. But I felt really aligned with him when he said, I've moved from eating pancakes to egg whites.
Yeah, right.
And I have an 8-year-old who loves Denny's, so I was surprised, you really came in 2011.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
And you shifted the paradigm for a traditional diner like Denny's.
Sure.
And have been growing every year since.
Every year since, we've been growing sales. One of the first things we did was to talk about purpose and values, sort of get those life put back into those important things, because if you don't have anything you can anchor your team to, then you sort of get lost and wobbly out there. So that was one of the first things we did. But almost the second thing we did, not quite, but really early on, we knew we needed a fit fair menu. So egg white omelets, the fit slam, and some of those things were early introductions. We started with 4 items. Now we got 13 or 14 that are on the menu, and then hundreds of different ways people can order fit fare at Denny's, and it's growing every year too.
Yeah, and I love it, and I was trying to negotiate with your person as I was blessed to do a keynote. I said, maybe I could get just a Denny's VIP card instead of paying me to speak. That would be a fair deal. And she realized how much I eat, and I think she equated going, no, we'd rather just pay you, Dave. Now, we talk about purpose and passion and a value-based system. Right. As a leader, and this is for entrepreneur, I believe in that so wholeheartedly. Where did you learn that, and how to lead with values first, not with management?
Well, everybody learns it eventually, somewhere along in life, and or you die without it, and you live with some regret. But I think the younger you learn, the better. And I think life teaches these lessons over and over. But I had the good fortune of learning from Mom. My mom was this extraordinary, purpose-driven person, very values-led, and so it just sort of came natural that these things made sense to me. And then when I had the good fortune, and early in my career, moved in high school. From Chillicothe, Ohio to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And when you move in the middle of high school, when you're sort of trying to define yourself a little bit, you kind of find out what you believe and what you're all about really pretty fast. And so I had the opportunity, blessing, good fortune, luck, all of those things, karma, coming together, and I landed in a spot with a guy named Bill Wall, who started Casa Bonita Enterprises, and this gentleman just lived and breathed value. So between Mom handing me off as a young adult to Bill Wall, I was very fortunate.
Before I get into the values, I now realize that me, you, and LeBron all have something in common now. We're all from Ohio.
We're all
great place to be from.
Right, that's right.
Good values in Ohio.
That's right. And cornfields.
Yep, true. Let's talk about those values, though.
Okay.
You came from your mom like mine, and we have that in common. What values are important as an entrepreneur and a leader?
Yeah, well, I think you got to stay within yourself, right? So you can't do everything. So because you can't do everything, but things need done that you can't do, you depend on others. So if you depend on others, people have to be able to depend on you. If you just sort of get that at the outset, one of the first things is how totally dependent we are. The power of the pack is in the wolf, they say, and the power of the wolf is in the pack. So the first thing you got to get is that the power of we, that we together can do great things. But when you divide people, put people on the defensive, have win-lose situations, it's not going to be as powerful. So I think that's one of the very first fundamental lessons that life teaches you, to be powerful, to accomplish anything.
And along with we, though, you have one of the most diverse companies that I've seen. I'm blessed to speak all around the world and get to meet different companies with different cultures and values. And one of the things that attracted me to this organization is how diverse it is, but yet so cohesive. You feel the we as one, right? And oneness is so hard to explain to people. And I think I've read even about you that you believe in a collective conscious.
Yeah,
and
conscious,
right?
Conscious
And
capitalism.
can you explain conscious capitalism, of course, can you explain that as an entrepreneur, how that evolves and yet you still are a capitalist?
Sure. Well, I think first of all, you got to walk the talk, right? So you care about people, and it's evident by your behavior, or you don't. And when you care about people, you want to include people and bring them along the way. And if there's no inclusion, then your behaviors are a reflection of what you believe, and then your emotions follow. And so if there's a conflict between what you say you believe and actually do, then it'll be pretty obvious pretty fast. I think the other side to that equation is true if you sort of follow this. If you'll act in accordance with your behavior, with your belief system. So one validates the other. And when you act outside of your belief system, then you have this sense of internal conflict, right? It's sort of you can't sleep with yourself very well, right? The mirror check doesn't work.
Right.
So I always say to somebody that behaves badly in a certain circumstances, well, that's a reflection of what you believe. Like people like my wife that speeds all the time. I said, you must believe you're above the law, because your behavior demonstrates what you believe. So your beliefs and your behaviors are going to align. So in our company, the reason we're so inclusive and so diverse is we believe that's really important, and our behavior follows, and so it's the outcome of our beliefs.
And I think the consumer also is diverse and also believes in that, and they feel comfortable coming to your organization from who serves them and who helps them. I'm
a little turned off by this business case scenario people say all the time versus right thing to do, right? If you believe in purpose and values, right thing to do should guide you first, and then there should be a business outcome. They're kind of independent, but they dance together. But there are people. But if you were looking for a business case, after 19 consecutive years of decline in the family category, not necessarily at Denny's, but in our category, this is our 8th consecutive year of positive growth. And I don't think that's happened in any 8 years in 63 years of history. So if you're looking for a business case to include people and that your customers will reward you, this is the case for that at Denny's.
Yeah, and I love a case scenario of passion plus purpose, but the one component I find with a lot of compassionate capitalists or leaders is they don't know how to reconcile passion, purpose with profitability.
Right.
How are you able to do that? What are some of the secret sauces that you can share with us?
So the CEO's job is really easy, thank goodness, because I am like the old cook or dishwasher, and thank goodness I have smart people all around me. But my job is to create disciples, and many CEOs at every level of the organization. And if the CEO's job is this, then everybody else's job is this, and that is to keep those three in balance. So if I have guests that want to come back, that's going to be because of employees that want to delight guests. And they have to want to work here and feel proud of their environment. And guests coming back with employees that love working here means I'll have a return and happy shareholders. If that three make up the wheel, it rolls down the road pretty smoothly. But if shareholders are really doing well and it's really profitable, but the employees hate it and the guests feel gypped, it's out of balance.
The wheel goes flat.
Right, it gets out of balance. So any one of those that are out of balance is bad. So it's bad for shareholders if guests aren't returning. It's bad for guests if they don't get a good enough deal. So keeping all three in balance is not just about return for shareholders. It's about the balance of those three, and then everybody wins. And that's my job, to keep those three in balance.
And you have a business that's been around for decades based off of a basic principle of providing value, of feeding people.
That's right.
And interesting enough, though, the world changes fast, and we have a lot of technology, a shared economy, right? And it's a very interesting thing. And we're a little bit older.
You're right.
And
not getting any younger.
Yeah. And technology moves a lot faster than it used to. How have you been able? And I've seen some insights because I was blessed to be at some of your meetings. How have you been able to grasp that technology and apply it to a traditional business, one of the most traditional businesses. And I think one of your mission or statements is simply, right, you can give it to us for feeding people. What is the exact?
Well, so purpose, we say we love feeding people.
We love feeding people. I love that.
Right, and then we just, because that's what we're doing. We're in the business of feeding people, so we love feeding people, and then we want to share the love. So we want to make sure that the purpose and the behaviors align, as we spoke about a moment ago. So if you love feeding people, then you'll share that love, and it's going to be evident that you care about your customers and your employees and your shareholders and all stakeholders. On the technology side, it's a complicated question. It can fall in a lot of different buckets. One, there's the technology, the digital world, and how you communicate with people. What's really challenging about this environment, whether we like it or not, is the truth can die at your feet. But sort of a misrepresented tweet or communication or misunderstanding that can happen in a restaurant can travel around the world a few times because it can be sensational and get repeated. And the full story and the truth can't be sensational or done in a soundbite. So that does create challenges for businesses today. And so the only way to deal with that is to fill that bucket full of richness about what you stand for, so that when these incidents occur,
right,
people go, well, that's not what I believe about them.
Yeah.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, at least for long enough to investigate what the real truth is. So there's that digital challenge world that is changing very fast, and I think to some degree irreversible. The other is what you do and invest in technology to eliminate pain points, to give us preference, to take care of our customers. And that's actually a lot easier in high frequency businesses higher frequency than full service, whether it be casual or family. So technology for pizza delivery is way ahead of what you might do in a full service restaurant. But a little insight in time, not very long from now, you might think about the technology that benefits our business finally as why would I ever stand in line anywhere? If I can let you know I'm coming, if I can order before I get there or while I'm there on a wait on a busy Saturday, before I even have a table assigned, if I can decide when I'm going to fire the order to the cook or when I'm going to have a shake or a smoothie or my coffee delivered to me, I'm more in control. So what technology is going to do is enable full service people, and Denny's in particular, to be able to deliver guest experiences that you haven't thought about before, just so the rest of that time is given back to you. Don't make me wait for my food, but don't rush me if I want to stay and hang a little longer.
Right, and you need to have the options. What's interesting is I believe in a combination of traditional with digital in all aspects, whether it's content, data, but especially in full service. I had a conversation with my wife because I said, as I'm analyzing your business from my side, I was like, God, I love, because I don't like to spend a lot of time eating.
Right.
And so for me, I love being able to be automated, order, pay, and someone serve me, or it already is pre-ordered and paid for. One of my favorite things about, a shared economy of vehicles experienced here in Las Vegas was I love just walking out of the vehicle.
You don't have to settle,
Right,
absolutely.
No settle, right? And it's just there. Well, my wife said to me, which was really interesting, she said, oh, I don't like that at all. I want to talk to the waitress. I want the full service. Right? I want to have an experience.
It's a conflict.
and it's almost like you have to have two restaurants now.
I know.
Or two. Remember we're so old, right? There was a smoking section in the but did Denny's have that 20 years ago?
Type A's here.
Right.
Type B's over there.
Right, you always have different lines. I can see Denny's someday.
Yeah.
That my wife and I are going to have to eat separately.
Yeah.
Right, my 8-year-old and I will be over at the fast service where there's no humans. And she'll have a 30-minute conversation with the waiter and tip her 40%, and she won't care.
So I'm sociable, you're sociable. That's obvious. You smile easy, I can see. But that doesn't mean you're not task-oriented. You get focused on the task. There's other things to fill your day. My wife, the task is always secondary, and she's always into the conversation first. She will go out to dinner when she will say, we're in a hurry.
Right.
But she is the reason we've not ordered. Right, so the server keeps coming around. I go, look, we're got to be ready. So I'm the guy who's ready to order the moment the server sniffs my table.
Right,
I go, look, I'm ready to order. Do not leave this table.
The whole order.
Everybody's ordered, right?
Right.
So, but again, all of that will be less about the establishment and their resources and whether or not the server came by at exactly the right time, and more about the ability to have it your way. And so, all in due time. If you're a type A table, you just take that device and you order it, and you're in charge of picking the table and the server and when the food's delivered. And another party might say, I don't want any of that technology, then don't touch it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
there. If you want it, it's not. If you don't want it, we have a server. So we're going to be able to accommodate a broader range of, meet the guests where they are.
That's beautiful. Two last questions. One, as you've evolved in such a huge success and a major impact on so many lives, both philanthropically as well as capital-wise, what advice would you give your 21-year-old self today?
That's great advice. I'd say a couple things. One, I really love the message in sort of discovering your purpose, and people can really struggle with that question.
I call it find your frequency. And
I love
you
that.
You totally have your frequency down, both as a person and as a company. So sorry to interrupt.
No,
Okay,
but I appreciate that. We have different ways to express this, and people will sometimes struggle. What does that mean? I don't know what that is yet, or I haven't figured that out, or I'm confused, or I'm scared sometimes. What if I waste a lot of years chasing the wrong thing? And I go, and I think your message is so good. Enjoy the journey to continue to improve. So just continue to discover your full potential. Such a great message. The journey is what matters. Your purpose is to take your talent and serve others with it, and then that'll give you gratification. So don't worry that it's imprecise. If you can play ball, you'll play ball better the more you hone those skills. You weren't born perfect, right? And you'll discover that journey will have lots of roller coaster rides, but stay on it, right, and continue to pursue it.
And enjoy it.
And just enjoy every moment of it. It's like raising children. You don't have children born and all of a sudden you're expert, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But because you love and care, you find a path that's successful if you put yourself into that journey. If you don't, if you ignore it and run from it, then it's unsuccessful. I think it's just that simple. If your pursuit's there, that'll be honored, and you'll enjoy the journey.
Yeah, and the universe has given me a great challenge with 3 teenage daughters to enjoy a journey.
I can only imagine.
Great patience. Last question. You've had such a storied career, but yet one thing we do share, from the day we met, we're both of service. And I saw it in your face. It was that night, and I met you, at the cocktail party, and I said, wow, here's a radically humble person that, for the first time I met you, Dave, is there anything I can do for you? Right? I love people who, the first thing they say is, how can I be of service? Whether they're the CEO of a major corporation or the dishwasher behind the scenes, that's what your company represents. As someone who lives of service, what legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, well, what I'd love to see, I've got a few goals for Denny's. This will be my last stop in all likelihood. Who knows what the stars, what they might align in the future. But one of the things that I would love to be able to do here, this is a brand that had a stain on its reputation back in the 90s. There was a Justice Department investigation of this brand from denial of service of African American guests. And the management team, the board, no one here, was part of that leadership team, right? So it's an entirely different company with different goals and purpose and vision and values. And so one of the things that's really important to me is to be able to confront that, turn and face it, and deal with that history. You can't outrun these things. You have to turn and face them. And most, prior to me, just people say, oh, well, it's a distant past. People forget. No, you have to turn and face it. So I really want to deal with that. And I want to create this model organization for others to follow. I think that would be a wonderful legacy and a great thing for everybody part of Denny's. The second part of that that's really important to me is we resigned ourselves, not just us, but others in our category, family dining. We used to be the place for families. Families meaning more than one generation. I'm out with my mom's out with her son, or 2 generations are involved, or 3 generations, my family with grandparents and so forth. So that still persists today. About 45% of our transactions involved 2 generations. That's higher in our category than any other. But for breakfast and lunch, we sold out dinner and late night. Sort of average food, compromise, fresh vegetables, whole grain breads, from scratch buttermilk pancakes for fresh buttermilk. When I got here, it was dehydrated milk fats and fried egg, and I don't know what all was in that mix, but it was okay. It wasn't going to kill anybody, but it wasn't. I want real food.
Quality.
I want quality. So I want to build a reputation for an all-day diner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night. America's Diner, a place where people can go get good quality, wholesome food at a good value, 24 hours a day, and not just be this breakfast place. So that's second goal. And then I think then we will have done something great. If people can look at us and say that was a model to follow, and I wish more people could be like Denny's. I'd love for people to say that.
Well, take it from me. I see a ton of corporations, and you are well on your way of manifesting that legacy. And it's been an honor to be a part of this meeting, but also to have this interview. And I hope that we continue this relationship. And I tell people you should always ask for a mentor. And you know, I was blessed. A lot of your people asked me if I could mentor them, but I'm on publicly asking John if hopefully I can call you sometimes and ask you a few pieces of advice. If
And
that's
vice
okay.
versa. David, let me tell you something, and from the bottom of my heart, you really touched our team today. Don't make me cry.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're
Thank
not going
you.
to cry on the camera again, but this is Dave Meltzer with John Miller with Entrepreneur, the Playbook.